Development is creeping closer to a busy airport. A crash leads us to ask, who is watching out for safety? The special challenges of being the highest brewery in North America. Jared Polis' new campaign ad has him tossing an unwrapped sandwich into his kid's lunch. That raises all kinds of questions, but not the ones we're putting to the truth test. Lakeside's new roller coaster isn't new. It reveals how amusement parks recycle the same rides decade after decade. And after we learned here last night that Central City is really just central, we got some questions for you. Commerce? That's next. Denver learned its lesson from Stapleton Airport with the planes coming in low over populated areas. So development in close to DIA in that open space will not include residential subdivisions. Yet those neighborhoods keep popping up around Centennial Airport, the second busiest general aviation airport in America. A single-engine plane crash last Friday happened just outside a cluster of homes. Our Marshall Zellinger looks at the rules for building beneath the path of planes.
In the debate between the chicken or the egg, Centennial Airport came long before most of the development getting oh so close to it.
The airport opened in 1968. We're actually celebrating our 50th anniversary this year.
Opening day 1968. This is what Centennial Airport looked like. Only Grandview Estates was already nearby. Then Stonegate popped up. Inverness got more populated, and now Stepping Stone, where a Cirrus plane crashed last weekend, killing the pilot and sending an engine into a nearby home.
Since the airport doesn't have land use control off of our property, they can potentially build up close to the airport property.
We check to see what the airport can do before development breaks ground near a place where you know a homeowner will complain.
We don't have a whole lot to say once it's off airport property.
Though you will see signs like this one on Arapahoe Road near Dayton Street, warning that you're entering the Centennial Airport influence area.
Borders on the north side with Bellevue Avenue, on the south side with the power lines on the bluffs. On the west side is I-25 and Yosemite Street, and on the east side is Parker Road. So if you're in that boundary, you can expect to have overflights from aircraft and have some exposure to aircraft noise.
Last year, the airport had 340,000 takeoffs and landings and received 12,000 complaints from just 250 homes. And as we learn with DIA, that's not unusual to have a lot of complaints from few people. According to Centennial Airport, what they can do is influence perhaps a realtor to tell you before you buy the home, or have it in your title documents somehow. That way you know what's going to happen before the developer builds. They actually encourage, hey, maybe double pane the glass. It's no secret the airport's here. You're going to build there. We've said enough. Hopefully the homeowner knows what they're in for.
And at some point it becomes buyer beware. Yeah.
And then we'll hear from their emails saying, hey, what's going on there?
Yeah, can't believe the plane noise. Yep, because you bought a house next to an airport. All right, thank you, Marshall. Funeral arrangements for Aurora Mayor Steve Hogan have been announced. Saturday at 11 o'clock, Heritage Christian Center near the town center at Aurora. All are welcome at that memorial. We've put details on 9news.com, where we'll share portions of that service for anybody who's interested. Mayor Hogan died on Sunday after a battle with cancer. He was 69 years old. I don't want you to be distracted by one particular scene in Jared Polis' new campaign ad for governor. So he's packing a lunch for his son when he just tosses an unwrapped sandwich into the bag. Now, parents who have actually packed a child's lunch before will recoil in horror at the consequences of that error. But don't allow it to make you lose sight of the larger issue, whether Polis is in a position to deliver on the big policy promise he makes in the ad. Here's politics guy Brandon Ritteman with our latest truth test.
Democrat Jared Polis cut an ad that features his son arguing that childcare is too expensive. If you're not sure how true that is, go find a parent and ask him. Polis is trying to sell you on the idea that he's the guy to fix that.
That's why I'm running on a platform of bringing universal full-day preschool and kindergarten to every child in this state.
Yeah, it's true this is part of Polis's platform, but what does that mean exactly? This is where more context comes in handy, so here's more. A vote for Jared Polis doesn't mean he can just up and do all this. In fact, we already have a governor who supports full-day kindergarten. He even signed a bill to offer it to everybody. But you, the voters, rejected the plan to pay for it. And it wasn't even close. Almost 2/3 voted against a state income tax increase back in 2013. It would have paid for full-day kindergarten and a bunch more increases. increases to public school funding. Republican candidates today are campaigning on helping to defeat it back then. In the 5 years since, the legislature ran 9 different bills to pay for more full-day kindergarten, and all of those died. The point is, like so many children's sandwiches, the ideas of a governor aren't automatically in the bag. Bottom line, the same thing we tell you every presidential race applies at the state level too. Governors can push for things, but they don't have the power to just do anything they want. Big changes take the legislature, and if they come with big price tags, sometimes a vote of you, the people, to get done in Colorado. By all means, you should choose candidates who argue for the things you believe in. Just make sure you're clear about what it takes to actually get them done. With your Truth Test, I'm Brandon Rittiman.
Full-day kindergarten does differ by district in Colorado. There are districts that have been able to increase property taxes in order to pay for it. A handful of districts don't offer it as an option. We dig into the details and the potential cost if Polis gets his way in the online version of this Truth Test at 9news.com. Boulder could ban so-called assault weapons and bump stocks and high-capacity magazines tonight, or City Council could delay that decision once again. This ban would grandfather in prior owners if they go and get police department permission. We'll keep you updated. Just as we have been checking to see if a single person has yet surrendered a bump stock in Denver to comply with Denver's 5-month-old ban. Nope. Denver police told us they have yet to see a single one turned in. Our next question comes from our former colleague here at 9 News, Kelly Jensen. What's going on with the helicopters flying over Boulder open space today? They've been circling for a while. Looks like maybe they pulled someone up to rescue, or they were just training. Either way, the news person in me had to get some video. Kelly Jensen, an assignment desk legend, nothing gets by her. Xcel Energy is out there replacing a 4-mile transmission line on some open space, Kelly. So Xcel sent out letters to the people who live in the area, but for everybody who is, say, hiking a trail or driving by, we get to look and wonder, at least until this story. That work continues through September. Coloradans are no strangers to change. In Loveland, the sun is about to set on a neighborhood favorite, and there are only a few hours left for a last look. Here's Jordan Chavez.
To everything, there's a season. In Loveland, most trees are blooming, but at the intersection of 33rd and North Monroe, there's one that's not.
The tree itself has lived a long life.
Barbara Hoosier and her dogs passes more than 100-year-old Cottonwood regularly.
I live a block over, but I walk this every day.
But that's about to change.
I was wondering when I walked today, I said, oh, the tree's not going to be there tomorrow. That's sad.
The neighborhood was built around the tree.
Jody Lessman with the city says the tree's become a safety hazard.
It's time. It's past its lifespan.
And will be removed starting tomorrow.
In the last windstorm, when we had the very high winds, we actually have had some bark rip off the tree and land in some of the neighbors' yards.
Big chunks of branches that fall and litter up the yards.
Mark Arndt is one of those neighbors.
Yeah, that used to be the way to get people to my house, was just say go to the 4-way stop when you get to the big cottonwood tree. But now it's going to be the big blank median, I guess, for a while. So
in the past, the tree welcomed him to the neighborhood.
It used to be really, really full.
Just a year after it was first on the chopping block. In 1991, the city wanted to remove the cottonwood to extend North Monroe. Neighbors rallied and saved it, but this time, there's no turning back.
It is what it is, right?
But that's the way life is.
The tree will soon be gone.
Every day changes.
And a new season will begin on North Monroe. For Next, I'm Jordan Chavez.
If you're thinking to yourself, it's just a tree, I bet you anything we could find one in your neighborhood that you'd be devastated to lose. That particular tree, the century-old cottonwood, will be taken down over the course of this week. Its next life is mulch. We have to adjust our recipes in the kitchen for altitude. Same goes in America's highest brewery.
It's actually reduced pressure that is the #1 problem for doing anything at altitude.
Lakeside's new roller coaster is not new. It's been around for decades, put together and taken apart time after time. And last night we rocked your world with the revelation that Central City is actually just called Central. Tonight, we call up the mayor of Commerce City. Or should we just say Commerce? That's next.
It seemed a little warmer, seemed a little drier. Took a lot of the day to get the storms going, but many areas that saw hail yesterday saw hail again today. After a day with highs above average near 80 degrees, that warmth fueling thunderstorms that are still producing 1-inch diameter hail south and east of the city this evening. These severe storms hitting the Pinery, Parker, areas around Lone Tree, down around Colorado Springs and southeastern Colorado. But a shift in the pattern tomorrow. Low pressure moves on shore in California that allows for high pressure to set up over Colorado. Storms move out late tonight. We have a sunny day tomorrow, a warmer day, a drier 48 hours before the next storm moves in and the next chance for storms. Tonight, partly cloudy, 48, isolated storms in the city, scattered storms out on the far eastern plains. Sunny, 81 tomorrow. We go warmer Thursday. Storms Friday afternoon, a cool showery day Saturday. Not a severe weather day, just a damp day with rain. A little drier Sunday and then back close to 80 degrees by Monday and then again Tuesday of next week.
Kathy, thanks. You will hear Colorado's brewers and home brewers talk about some of the special challenges of brewing beer at a mile high. So how about 2 miles high?
We're at 10,156 feet at the brewery. City's official elevation is 10,152 feet. Now I guess we can only claim we're the world's highest craft brewery that's not in La Paz, Bolivia, or definitely the highest in elevation in North America. Yeah, I'm Chris Labbe, president of Periodic Brewing. We're here in Leadville, Colorado. Yeah, it's a common question for us when people come up here, especially if they're scientific at all and they sort of think about what's going on at elevation. It's actually reduced pressure that is the #1 problem for doing anything at altitude. And so we have some challenges at boiling, where the hops extraction, what's called the isomerization of the hops to produce the bitterness, can be affected. There is one formula out there that would say that theoretically we need twice as much hops to make the same bitterness level. But we don't believe that through experimentation. We think we've come down to about 20% extra hops. Whenever you do the calculations for your draft line system, you have to take into account altitude. CO2 stays in solution in beer as a function of pressure and temperature. In fact, we couldn't even find a partner who would help us design our draft line system at 10,000 feet. So we serve all of our beer out of kegs so that we can keep our draft system pouring as best we can. And we're still figuring out how to make this even work. We haven't made any money yet in the first 2.5 years. Negative is what that means. How's the maple bacon been selling up here? You're not going to make money here in Leadville. You don't move up here because you want to get rich. But it's okay. You know, we're here because we love this town, and we want to be involved in the town, and our long-term vision, our 5-year plus plan, is to build a production factory here in town for the brand to be strong enough that we can create professional employment opportunities for the people of Leadville.
The Labbes are familiar faces in town. Chris and Evan and their wives own and operate Periodic Brewing. Their dad, Greg, is the mayor. So last night, our world was rocked by the revelation that the place we have always called Central City is actually just Central, the city of Central. We found it on an old document, and the mayor confirmed it for us. That's the official name of Central City. So, Commerce City, you've been keeping secrets too? Get the mayor on the line.
It used to be called Commerce Town, and then over time it got incorporated, and it's the city of Commerce City.
Rest easy, Colorado. It is the city of Commerce City. It went from Commerce Town to the city of Commerce City in the 1960s. So yes, it is redundant if you say the whole name, but people don't say the whole name. And this is how things get confused. And there's a town called Central now. So perhaps you heard Lakeside Amusement Park is getting a new roller coaster. It isn't. It's getting an old roller coaster, reassembled, like so many are as they are passed around America over decades. A whole world I never knew existed. Next. The new roller coaster being built at Lakeside Amusement Park is the biggest thing to happen to that century-old park in decades. It's only new, though, to Lakeside. It's actually a 45-year-old roller coaster that's being reassembled at Lakeside. And it gives us a window into how old carnival rides, even roller coasters, just get passed around among small amusement parks over the years. This roller coaster's ride begins with a mystery. No one knows quite where it was for its first few decades. It was built in Italy in the early 70s, made to be portable, to be set up and taken down by traveling carnivals. Controls as simple as start, stop, and emergency stop. It stopped in Shreveport, Louisiana in the 90s, where Hamels Park called it the Thunder Rail. It did a 2-year stint at Branson, USA in the Ozarks, where they renamed it and then shipped it on to the Saginaw County Fair. It ran just 1 week a year until it was sold to Funplex in Omaha, Nebraska, where they called it the Big O. Only roller coaster in Nebraska until it was sold to Lakeside, taken apart and shipped out here. Lakeside isn't saying what it'll name its new roller coaster, joining the iconic and even older 1940s Cyclone. But you can bet it won't be this roller coaster's most frequently used name, its model name, Zyklon, German for cyclone. There can be only one at Lakeside, even now that they have 2. They made 8 of those coasters originally, and 5 of them are still running in the U.S. 1 is still running down in Brazil. I found 2 online for sale, both around $200,000 a piece, so you get some idea what Lakeside paid for it. There are roller coasters more than twice as old that are still running, of course. One roller coaster writer and photographer told me today, you know, they're like anything mechanical, like an old car or a train. You keep them in good shape, you replace the parts that need replacing, they'll run forever. The most Colorado thing we saw today is an executive without an executive parking space, because the Boulder County Director of Transportation gets to work the exact way that you would expect the Boulder County Director of Transportation to get to work. George Gerstel walks or he rides his bike, where his reserved parking space is on a bike rack. One of these days, we are going to run out of bizarre and confusing signs spotted by next viewers around Colorado. That day is not today. One day we may run out of your fascinating feedback. That day, also not today. It's a sign spotted by next viewer Jason Slewinski at the Great Western Alpaca Show earlier this month. This is the National Western Complex in Denver. Alpaca Show entrance, do not enter. It's going to be a sparsely attended alpaca show, folks. You don't know which one to believe. Jason thought this was hilarious. You know what's really hilarious, though? Stock photos of confused-looking alpacas. And Google told us today that there are more of these photos out there than you would think exist. We finished with your feedback. Dee wonders, what about Canyon City? Lake City, sure that there are more. Dee, I looked through a bunch of these. So like Lake City is a statuary town. Canyon City is a city. So far, Central City, a.k.a. Central, is the only one that's been deceiving us. Ron says, all this talk about airport noise, the homes around Centennial Airport, says, reminds me of the people in Morrison who bought near Red Rocks, yet complain it's too loud. Kathy Moore says, my soldier sons and my cop husband would still help that viewer who criticized your coverage. Not so sure I would. Then again, I'm just a wife and mom. See you next time.